video about the fresh halibut and the artichoke and fresh corn risotto. Yeah. So anyway, I have the risotto with the shallots and butter and a little bit of olive oil, and then I have the chicken stock. At this point, you could add a little white wine if you had it. I don't have any. All I have is beer, truly, and I don't think that would really work out. So we're gonna just add the chicken stock. And so what I said before is there's a difference between risotto and other rices, and that difference being that risotto is probably the only rice out of all the different kinds of rice in the world that you would ever stir. Most rice you want to put your broth, your water, your stock, and then put a lid on it and leave it alone. But anyway, so the risotto, I added probably a cup or two of chicken stock, and I'm working with this electric stove, so bear with me. And I have the old-fashioned pressure cooker pot. That's kind of what I have, so we're doing it, working with it. So anyway, you add the chicken stock, and you stir it. And what we're going to do is we're going to let that cook down a little bit. And meanwhile, I've got this saute pan that I've gotten pretty hot, and I've already added the olive oil and a little bit of butter, and it's pretty sizzly. It's kind of what you want. And then we took this fresh halibut and I seasoned it. And what that does is it kind of draws out some of the moisture, if you can see that. See that moisture? And fish, you always want to cook the round side down. Halibut maybe is a little different because it's a flat fish. So the round side would just be the top. You would get 4 of these fillets off of a halibut. But anyway, so drizzle off most of the liquid, have salt and pepper on it, and you want the pan hot. There's a few reasons for this. One is because you want the nice sear that you're gonna get. You want that sizzle effect, and then you're gonna turn it up now because it's gonna cool down once I add the fish. And then I'm gonna add the other piece. And so one of the tricks to this is you don't want to like mess with that. Just let it do its thing. You want to let it get crispy. There's a lot of different things you could do with halibut. You could flour it. You could come up with some kind of crazy coconut macadamia crust or whatever. But what I always like tell the young guys that I've worked with in the past is learn the basic fundamentals, and if you want to expand on that later, then go ahead. But before you do that, you want to learn just the basics. And so what this is would be just a hot sear, basically. You can smell it how it's so fresh, aromatic. And so what I talked about is this combination of, so this burn right here, you have to turn it all the way off and go back that way. You can't turn it up like you normally would. It's just one of those things. So I turn that up the rice. I'm going to get that boiling. But anyway, so this is a combination of, I guess, 3 styles of cuisine. The first would be the Italian, because the base ingredient, the risotto, which is the Italian rice. And then the techniques are probably a little more on the French side, which is most of my training. And we're going to do what's called a beurre no sweat. It's just a simple brown butter sauce. Like I said, you can get crazy. I've seen people do like a jalapeno mango chutney or something like that, but we're not doing that. We're going to just keep it really simple. And so the fish, you want to cook it hot. If you notice, I still haven't touched the pan. It's just still sitting there, and I do have a couple of very simple tools that I might have. Would be a fish spatula, right? And then I had a pair of generic tongs from, these are probably from the Family Dollar, I don't know. And then I had a pretty mediocre chef's knife that my beautiful girlfriend let me borrow. Because I don't, like I said, I don't cook at home. So anyway, just let that go. At this point, you might want to start very carefully. That's what's cool about the shape of the spatula. It has that little thing. And you might want to start just getting under it a little bit so it doesn't stick. What I'm looking for is a nice seared. I have that completely on high. We're going to go back to the risotto, which, if you're an Italian chef, you'd want to cook this with a real wooden spoon. But
I don't have one. I'm not a real Italian chef. So anyway, stir it. And it did brown a little bit. That's fine. You just don't want burn. I'm going to turn that up. We're just going to keep doing that. Just keep letting the risotto cook down. And like I said, it's the only rice out of all any other rice, if you stir it, it's destroyed. It breaks down the grains. But the arboreal rice is a smaller, rounder rice, and what you're looking for is you do want to stir it because that releases the starch into the liquid, the stock, the wine, and that creates a creamier texture. So anyway, hence the stirring once in a while. And the halibut, you're still searing it on one side. I almost want to get you don't want to burn it, but you want to get a super nice crispy texture. It's almost time. And one trick when you're sauteing anything, could be steak, chicken, fish, scallops, shrimp. So what I'm doing is I'm turning the pan up this way. What that does is it puts all the oil down here. So when I go to flip it, like that, and like that, oops, then it's not going to splash me. And then you can put it back to the heat. Wipe down a little spill. I kind of like the fish to be medium, maybe almost medium well, but not too overcooked. If you cook it too much, then it's going to be dry. You might as well just open a can of clean it. So if you can look at this risotto again, zoom in on that, you see the stock is starting to evaporate. It's getting like a little creamier and thicker. So then what I'm going to do at this point is we're going to turn it up high. Add some more stock. I haven't added any seasoning, no salt, no pepper, nothing. The only thing we have is the butter, the shallots, the rice, and the stock. We're just going to keep cooking that. My fish is still going right here. I have right here the mise en place again, which are the fresh sliced artichoke bottom, fresh corn. That's the one item that kind of turns it into, so you have the French, which would be the butter sauce, so I'm making the beurre no sweat, I forget how to pronounce that. And then you have the Italian component, which is the risotto. And I guess the corn is kind of an American, so you're kind of merging three different nationalities into one dish. It's probably the best part of it. You see that sizzle? You can probably hear that. And I like to just kind of, you notice I haven't moved it or touched it, because if you move it and you touch it and you flip it and you flip it, then it's going to stick and stick, and it's not going to develop that crust. That's kind of what you're looking for, is that crust that you see right there. And then over here I have a little bit of fresh Italian parsley, and then I just have some simple sliced yellow tomatoes. And then in the oven I've already started to bake the crisp that we talked about earlier. And it's actually, I can smell it, it's warm now. So I'll probably turn that on to broil in a minute. Or actually, let's do it now. Turn that on to broil. That'll only take a couple minutes to kind of develop this little crust on the top. And then I'm going to turn that off. And by the time we have the main course, the dessert should be about ready. Anyway, I'm not a professional video maker. I did show everyone a picture of my kids, and I want to scan back to this picture right here, which is me 30 years ago with my brand new baby boy Brandon right there. You can see his little face. And the oldest heavyweight champion of the world, George Foreman, which I kind of take a little credit for him winning the heavyweight championship, because when he was in training for that, when he fought whatever his name was, the one dude, the guy with anyway, I forgot his name. I'm a boxing fan, but wasn't Lennox Lewis, it was the other guy, Michael Moore. When he fought Michael Moore, he trained at the El Dorado Hotel Casino, which I worked at, and I helped cook a lot of his meals. And George was actually a seafood lover also. He loved halibut, and he loved lobster. So anyway, I'm turning the fish off. Boom. Still searing, crispy. I might flip it over again. It's kind of hard to hold the phone and flip at the same time, so I'm going to wait on that. Let's just take a peek at it, see how it looks. Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to be very careful and just flip it over. Oh, look at that. And I'm going to flip it over again. And here comes in the burr, no sweat. So I'm taking a little bit of fresh butter, or butter. I guess it's not fresh. Probably not fresh unless you take it from a cow. I'm just going to add that in there. The fish is already seasoned. It's already turned off. See how the butter's sizzling and browning? That's basically it. You can, like I said, you can add any kind of sauce you want. I don't think it's necessary. Let the fish kind of speak for itself. So the risotto is still cooking down. You see how it's like gotten creamier and creamier. There's not very much broth left. So at this point, I'm going to add some more broth. You just want to keep letting that process go. You keep adding and you stir it from time to time, and that's basically it on the broth. If we happen to run short, we could add a little water. So I'm just going to put some of that brown butter, look at that, right over the fish. I'm going to pull it over to the side, and now what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to slide this pan off of the heat. Just right over here to the side. I'm a little excited about this because I've never really cooked. I don't cook at home, like I said. It's like mechanics. They don't cook. They don't work on their cars at home usually. Some guys do, but most of them I know don't. So you just drizzle that nutty flavored burr, no sweat, no set, or brown butter sauce right over it. And I've got it sitting where the butter will just go down to the side. And the fish is probably going to be a little bit medium-ish, medium well at the most, hopefully. I might actually want to pull that off the heat in a second so it doesn't overcook. But we're waiting on the risotto. So I guess I could put a lid on that, but I don't have one. So let's do this. Let's go with a plate. Put a plate over that. We're going to grab another plate and take that halibut right there and just take it off the heat. We don't want it to overcook. And then you have that sauce right there. See that? Oops, I guess my fingers were covering it. See that brown butter sauce? It's very simple. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of fresh chopped Italian parsley directly on the fish. And parsley actually has a ton of flavor. They use it a lot in French cooking. Parcelade, I guess is the term. But most people kind of think of it as a garnish, but it's more than just a garnish. It's a flavor. It's an herb. It has delicious flavors, especially the fresh Italiano, which I'm going to try a little piece. Oh, the only other mise en place I didn't do is I have just one single fresh lemon, which I'm just going to roll barely, just kind of press it, kind of release some of that smell. I'm going to cut that in half in a minute, or cut a half of it and then maybe a couple wedges. But we're still kind of back over here. Oh, let's check the crisp. See that sizzling? You hear it? I don't know if you can hear it. So what we do now, just turn that baby off, right? And I'm going to forget about that. It should cool down. You don't really want hot, super hot berries, so if it cools down, it'll kind of solidify a little bit, I guess the word is. And then we're back over here at the risotto. I've got it cruising now because of the lid. Give it a little stir. It's looking good, actually. And then I'm going to put the lid back on. Wow. And I'm going to go outside and hit my vape for a minute and look for my cat. There's our hummingbird feeder. It's beautiful, 80-some degrees here in Idaho today. Anyway, there's my little guy, my little buddy, Nicholas. He's a little baby, driving Dad's truck. And there's little Nicholas right there too, Santa Claus. I can't believe he doesn't really believe in Santa anymore. He's 9. And then here's a couple of Food Department Employee of the Month, 1993, El Dorado Hotel Casino. Supervisor of the Month, El Dorado Casino, 1995. There's me, Chehalis, Washington, 1979. Oh my God, 1979. Anyway. You getting hungry? Me too. So I probably actually would have been better off maybe to start the risotto a little bit earlier. But it's honestly been a minute since I made risotto. So it's sizzling perfectly though, bubbling. And see, it's creamy, but so what I want to do now is I want to cook that down until the broth is almost gone. Just keep stirring it. Stirring it, don't burn it. I'm going to try a grain and see, you know, how close to being done it is. It's actually pretty close. It should be about right with the amount of stock. Risotto is kind of like pasta almost, like the Italianos. They don't want to cook it. They don't want to overcook it. You still want a little bite to it, a little texture, a little al dente. So that's basically the finishing ingredient. So I guess I could pause it again and then maybe I'll start the video back up when it's done. Or, you know, I kind of want to show everyone, this is kind of the star of the show, the risotto. So I'll pause it and I'll start it back up in a minute when we get closer to finishing, finalizing the risotto and plating up the dish. Anyway, we'll be back.